So I had this like moment last night where I was like, okay, it's 11. Do I stay up and read these 80 extra pages or do I go to bed? And I was responsible. I went to bed last night. This man thinks it's more realistic for Miss Girl to be like the Harriet Tubman of witches than just like simply like him. It is available on Kindle Unlimited for free if you have that subscription. So I guess it really isn't free, is it? But it's free in my head because I don't pay for my subscription. My future husband does. So I'm a little bit worried about that, a little bit worried about fragile masculinity. When are we not, honestly? Her nickname for him is Baseball Daddy. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a minute. Like, it's gonna be a no for me. That is not a cute nickname. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is super fun, which is letting my followers choose what I read for a week. So a few days ago, I sent out a poll on my YouTube community tab and I was like, hey, what kind of video do you guys want to see? And I set out 3 different options. It was like followers choose what I read for a week, a prompt jar chooses what I read for a week, what I realistically read as a college student, and letting my followers, aka letting you guys choose what I read for a week, won by a substantial amount. So that is what we are going to be doing this week. And let's just say I had a little bit of an inkling that video would win because I already sent out a poll and I already asked you guys, hey, what book should I read this week? Or what should I read? And I sent out 3 different options. Funny Story by Emily Henry, Daydream by Hannah Grace, and then lastly Reckless by Lauren Roberts. And Funny Story by Emily Henry won by a landslide. There was no doubt about it. Literally none of the other options came close. So I'm taking the hint. You guys want me to read this. You want to know what I think about it. And yeah. So I actually have already started Funny Story by Emily Henry. I started it last night when it became pretty clear that that was going to be the winner. And I'm about 70 pages in and I'm really enjoying it so far. Emily Henry, if you are a frequent viewer of my channel, you know Emily Henry is my auto-buy author. I love everything she writes. There is not a single book out there that she could put out that I would not read, okay? That's how much I love her. I would read anything that woman writes, and yeah. This has been an anticipated read for such a long time. I don't know why I haven't picked it up. I think it's mainly because for the longest time I was in a reading slump and I did not want to read this in a reading slump because I needed to be in the right headspace, mindset, whatever. And now in 2025, I can safely say that I am out of the trenches. I am out of my reading slump. So it was about time that I just pulled up my bootstraps and read this book, okay? So if you did not know, Funny Story is Emily Henry's newest release. She has another one coming out, I want to say in like April of 2025, so a few months away. But this book is about Daphne and Miles, and basically in a nutshell, Daphne's fiance left her for Miles's girlfriend, if that makes sense. So their 2 significant others cheated on them or just like broke up with them because they wanted to be together. They're like childhood best friends. They didn't know that they had feelings for one another, and then all of a sudden one night they were like, we love each other, and they broke up with Daphne and Miles. And that kind of left Daphne and Miles in kind of a sticky situation. Miles has lost out on half of his rent essentially. Daphne is now essentially homeless. So they decide to move in together. So now they are roommates. It is forced proximity, roommates to lovers, and it is also fake dating because they were both invited to their ex's wedding. So they are tending to date each other in order to make their exes jealous. And I feel like this is such an outlandish premise, but I love it. It is so good. Emily Henry's writing is just so beautiful, even when it's like this outlandish, kind of like unique premise, and I love it. I'm absolutely devouring it. It literally took a lot for me to put this book down last night because I had to go to bed. I just had to go to bed. But now that it's the next day, we're gonna dive right back in, and I am so excited. we're finally seeing Daphne and Miles like interact with one another. Up until this point, I feel like they haven't really interacted much. Like they're roommates and that's it. And now they're like slowly bonding and becoming friends, and I love it. They just kissed. I repeat, they just kissed. I'm only 30% through, but I love them together. I just love that they're kind of opposites attract, and I feel like they just complement each other so well. Even in a non-romantic setting, I feel like they complement each other to a T. I love you so much. I love you so much, but you're getting on my last nerve. I have tried to film this clip at least 10 times, and every single time she wants to interrupt and talk to me. So it is the next day, and I am 75% through Funny Story by Emily Henry. I read a lot last night, literally right before I went to bed. I just got like a second wind, and I was like, let's pick up this book, and I devoured it. I literally read so much, and I only have 80 pages left. I'm on page 300. I think there's like 386 pages or something. So I had this like moment last night where I was like, okay, it's 11. Do I stay up and read these 80 extra pages, or do I go to bed? And I was responsible. I went to bed last night. So that means that we have to finish Funny Story today. It is a must. It is not a need, it is a must. So, yeah. Just a little update on how I am feeling about the book so far. I really am enjoying this book. Like, do not get me wrong, but it definitely does not top Happy Place for me. I feel like that book is in a totally different category. However, when I am reading this book, I am just loving it. Like, there's nothing that I don't like about it, but then when I sit it down and I'm like, okay, is this a 5-star read? I'm like, well, it's not better than Happy Place, but I'm enjoying it so much. Like, every time I read a chapter, it feels like no time has passed. Like, that is how fast I am flying through this book. And I was texting my friends, I was like, hey, have you read this book yet? And blah, 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 you know, like, you should read this book. And when they ask me why they should read this book, I'm like, drawing a blank. Like, it's just good. I don't know how to explain it. It's definitely definitely a little bit more rom-com-y than Happy Place. I think Happy Place is a very emotional read. I would say that is a little bit more literary fiction with a romance subplot, whereas this is very much a romance book. I feel like their relationship is kind of at the forefront. Obviously, our main female character, Daphne, is going through kind of a self-discovery phase right now of her life, but it's mainly about the relationship, them getting together, things like that. But yeah, I am so close to finishing this book, and I have like no clue how to feel about it, how to rate it, how to do anything concerning it, I guess, is what I'm trying to convey to you all. So, I just finished Funny Story by Emily Henry, and oh my gosh, you guys, I do not know what to think about this book. I absolutely loved it. I love Daphne's character. I feel like she's very relatable. She's very much a actions speak louder than words, and personally, that's kind of how I feel too. Like, you might promise all these things, but you need to back that up with like your actual actions and the things that you do. And I just loved how type A she was, and then Miles is very much a go with the flow, flexible, spontaneous kind of person, and I just loved how much they complement each other. I think they are such a good pairing. I would have loved to maybe have gotten Miles's point of view. I would have loved it if it was dual POV. I'm pretty sure Happy Place was dual POV. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a dual POV does so much, because even though I love Miles, I feel like there is a little bit of a disconnect for me because I wasn't in his perspective. Like, I love him to death, but I wish I would have gotten to see things in his point of view and how he was dealing with the Petra breakup and things with his family, and yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I am kind of debating if this is a 5-star or a 4.75 because I love this book. Like, do not get me wrong. I feel like there's nothing that I did not like. And I will probably think about this book quite often because it's an Emily Henry book and I just love her. Or if it's a 4.75 because it's not better or as good as Happy Place. But in my head, Happy Place is like above a 5-star. It's like a 6-star. So does that then make this a 5-star read? Because it was so good that I love it, and I probably love it more than other non-Emily Henry books, but it wasn't better than her last book. So I'm a little bit confused on where I stand rating wise, but maybe by the time I am editing this, I will have a rating, or you can just wait for my monthly February wrap up. With that being said, I am so happy I finally decided to pick up this book. Like I mentioned earlier, this book was a highly anticipated read, but over the summer I just went through the longest and most difficult reading slump ever. Like, I was really scared for a minute, guys. I was scared reading was no longer, you know? And I didn't want to pick up an Emily Henry book because I didn't want to read it in a bad mindset and have a bad reading experience. So I really just wanted to wait for the right time to read this book, and I definitely did because I devoured this whole thing. I ate it up and I left no crumbs. I absolutely love this book. I think I talked about this earlier, but it is definitely more of a romance book. I think the romance is always a little bit more contemporary romance than rom-com, if I'm gonna be honest. Compared to her other books, it is kind of more like a rom-com. But I would say her most rom-com-esque book would be like Book Lovers or something. So I think it's definitely a mix of Book Lovers and Happy Place. I think a lot of the contemporary or literary fiction kind of vibes is from Daphne's self-discovery and her character journey. And it was so good. It was so amazing. Not to mention, I loved the setting of the book. This book takes place in Michigan. And as a Midwest girly, I have been to Michigan more times than I can count, so I felt like I had a good grasp on the vibe and the type of place that they were at, and I was eating it up. I loved it. This is definitely a great read for like the summer or springtime. Right now, it is the dead of winter. We literally got like 3 or 4 inches of snow, so I'm living through this Michigan summer vicariously because that is not what my reality is giving. So moving moving on to what I will be reading next, I did send out a poll earlier this morning on my YouTube community tab, which is kind of a reminder, if you are not subscribed or have post notifications on for me yet, please do that now, because I might be doing more of these videos in the future, and so you don't want to miss out on being able to vote on what I'm going to be reading, you know? Also, just like my posts in general. But I gave you guys 3 options, and even though this post hasn't been up for 24 hours, it's been up for a very, very long time. Like, it is like 4 o'clock and it's been up since 10 a.m. So I feel like it's okay to jump the gun a little bit. Plus, one choice is winning by like a lot. So I feel like it's okay. Like, this would have won no matter what. So the 3 book options were The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli, I want to say. Sorry if I like totally butchered that. And then lastly, Reckless by Elsie Silver. So this was definitely more of a fantasy-centered poll. I had 2 fantasies and then 1 romance. I did that for the first poll, but like reverse, so 2 romances and then 1 fantasy. After reading Funny Story, I do kind of want to jump into a fantasy, so that's kind of why I put in 2 fantasy books. Not to be biased or anything, but I want to read a fantasy, and you guys came through with the fantasy choice because the winner is Heartless Hunter, and it is in the lead by 50%. So that is what we're going to be reading next. So I have literally been listening to Heartless Hunter for probably 2 or 3 hours straight. That is how bad the chokehold this book has put me under, because I literally had no idea what time it was. No idea. Like, I have school to do. I have homework. And I just totally lost track of time. But I am loving the story so far. I'm getting the vibe that it's a little bit of a marriage of convenience. And if you know me at all, you know that I love the marriage of convenience trope. And then insert that into a fantasy. It literally could not get better than that. I am not kidding, okay? The main reason why I wanted to film and update you guys is because I'm on track 16. So I'm guessing that's about 16 chapters in, give or take. And the main male character, Gideon, he is like the witch hunter. We're in his POV right now. It's dual POV, so we get both of their POVs, which is a chef's kiss. But basically in his POV right now, it's like, oh my gosh, is she the Crimson Moth? Like, is she the witch that is helping all these other witches? Because why else would she flirt with me? Like, it's not because she likes me, so she has to be the Crimson Moth. That is literally his line of reasoning. And I was making dinner and I literally stopped and had to laugh for like a minute, because this man thinks it's more realistic for Miss Girl to be like the Harriet Tubman of witches than just like simply like him and be infatuated with him. Like, that is just so funny in my head. I don't know why, but it is. So it's safe to say that this series is probably going to be a good series for me, okay? Because I already love both of the characters. I love the situation that they've put themselves in. Like, he's the witch hunter, and he has suspicions that she is the Crimson Moth, who is basically this anonymous person, anonymous witch that is helping these other witches escape from this kingdom that, like, doesn't like witches. And she wants to date him because she is indeed the Crimson Moth. She wants to date him or marry him or whatever because he is like the head witch hunter. She wants to know all the information that he knows so she can always be one step ahead of him. And I love it. I'm eating it up. So it is actually not the next day, it is 2 days later. I literally did not read at all yesterday, unfortunately. And trust me when I say that I am probably more upset about that fact than you guys, because all I could think about was this book. Was the Heartless Hunter, Rune, Gideon, all of it. All I could think about was that book. It literally had me in a chokehold all day. So trust me when I say that I was very, very upset by the fact that that I did not get to even look at a single page of this book yesterday. But it is a new day, so we are going to jump back in to The Heartless Hunter. Last time we spoke, I was listening to it on audio. I think I'm gonna pick it up on my Kindle. It is available on Kindle Unlimited for free if you have that subscription. So I guess it really isn't free, is it? But it's free in my head because I don't pay for my subscription. My future husband does. I'm currently on chapter 16. I'm about 100 pages in, and I'm just so excited to get back into it. So, yeah. I am just flying through this book. I'm already about halfway through, and it literally feels like no time has passed. I'm not gonna lie, I love Gideon. Like, do not get me wrong. He is broody, mysterious, and a little bit like damaged, but like not really damaged. He's just been through a lot. But I low-key love Alex. Like, it kind of makes me wish that he would maybe get a new love interest, because this secret pining and yearning for Rune is just not it. Like, it's not it. I care about you too much, Alex, for you to do that. And I'm a little bit worried because I feel like when he realizes that Rune and Gideon kind of have a thing, that he's gonna somehow betray Rune, or he's gonna do something that really messes with her and what she is trying to accomplish. So I'm a little bit worried about that, a little bit worried about fragile masculinity. When are we not, honestly? I'm not gonna lie, as someone who does have anxiety, this book is gonna cause me a panic attack. My heart is literally like racing, and every time I think things can't get any more worse, they get worse. I don't even want to stop reading this book to eat dinner. Like, it is so addicting. It is just so good. I know the second one literally just came out, and I don't have the physical copy yet, and it's not available on Kindle Unlimited either. So I fear I might just have to order it now, because I know I'm gonna want to read it literally the minute I'm done filming this video. So it is the next day, and I have some amazing news, which is I finished reading Heartless Hunter late last night, And when I say late, I literally mean like 2 in the morning. That's how long I stayed up to finish that book. And I feel like I never really discussed what this book is about, so let's talk about it. So this book is dual POV. We have Rune, our main female character's POV, and then Gideon, our main male character. And they basically live in like olden times. Like there's polite society, there's courtships, they have balls and they wear big ball gowns and things like that. But in this kingdom, it is outlawed, I guess, to be a witch and to be a witch sympathizer. Basically, the witches used to be in power, they got overthrown, and now there's like a new government, and it's very much like giving Red Queen, powerless, like that kind of vibe. And Rune, our main female character, is a witch living amongst society. She is acting like she's not a witch, that she hates witches, whatever. However, on the down low, she is basically helping witches escape and go to freedom. Think Harriet Tubman in a fantasy, that kind of vibe. And then Gideon, our main male character, he is like the head witch hunter. He literally killed 2 out of 3 of the like witch queens. And basically, they do not get along. Like, for obvious reasons, they just don't get along. But they both have suspicions of each other. Gideon suspects Rune to be the Crimson Moth, which is the anonymous witch that is helping witches escape. And then Rune is using Gideon to get some intel to kind of help her cause. So they're both using each other. And so there's like kind of an aspect of like marriage of convenience, convenience, courtship, that kind of stuff. Again, like I mentioned, it's enemies to lovers, and the enemies to lovers goes so hard. It's so good. And I just ate it up. I loved every minute of it. There was nothing that I did not enjoy. Like, it was amazing. And I think you know where I'm going with this. This was a 5-star read for me. I am so thankful that the second book has already come out because I don't know how people do that. I don't know how anyone could read that book and then wait for an extended period of time for the second one because, yeah, I just can't. Like, could not be me. I am getting that book ASAP. Moving on, I did have an inkling that I would be finishing Heartless Hunter last night, so I did put out another poll, and it's basically been up for 24 hours, but this is probably going to be the last day and book that I read for this video because it is Friday. It has been a week, but the 3 choices that I gave you guys was Caught Up by Liz Tomford, Butcher and Blackbird by Brynn Weaver, and then 6 of Crows by Leah Bardugo, I think that's how you say her name. So Caught Up by Liz Tomford is our winner. It won by 47%, so that is what we're going to be reading next. I actually think I'm going to start it on audio just because I have low-key been loving audiobooks. I am like in my audiobook era, and I just have some chores around the house like cleaning and laundry and stuff, so I think I'm gonna put on an audiobook and get to work. Okay, I'm back. Apparently the audiobook that's available for free on Spotify is in like some other language. All the other ones are in English, but for some reason Caught Up is not. So I'm just gonna read it on my Kindle and I'll think about my chores. Actually, I won't think about them at all because I want to read. I don't know if it was because I stayed up until like 2 in the morning, but I am reading so slow. I think an hour or so has passed and I'm only about 15% in, but I am really enjoying the book. I feel like the best thing about interconnected standalone series is that you really get to know all of these supporting characters, and it just feels like coming home in a sense. Like, it's so comforting. It's amazing. I love it. So this book is about Kai and Miller. Kai is a single dad. He plays professional baseball in Chicago, and basically he's having a tough time finding a nanny for his son. I think his son is like really young, like a year old or so, and he just can't keep a nanny to save his life. And so that's when Miller enters the chat. She's a pastry chef and she's kind of in a creative rut right now, so she agrees to watch Kai's kid. I forget his name. His nickname is Bug, but I can't remember his name to save my life right now. But her dad is like the coach of the team, so she is basically agreeing to watch Kai's son so she can spend the summer hanging out with her dad. And I love a good single dad trope. Like, low-key, this kind of reminds me of Heartless, but like with baseball. So I don't think it's the story, I don't think it's the writing that's like making it really hard for me to like follow along and read. I think it's just me. I think I'm the problem. I will say the main thing I don't like about this book right now is her nickname for him. Her nickname for him is Baseball Daddy. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a minute. Like, it's gonna be a no for me. That is not a cute nickname. Bug? That's a cute nickname. Blue? Cute nickname. Baseball Daddy? Really? So it is update time. I'm about 25% through Caught Up, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I feel like we're finally making some headway when it comes to like the relationship. Not really romantically, although the attraction and the banter and the flirting is there. I just feel like we're finally seeing them like get along. They're like sharing vulnerable stories with one another, like making a real effort to get to know the other person, and I am loving it. I almost like this part of the relationship in like romance books more than I like the romance. I don't know why. I think it's like because I like the build up. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm really enjoying it minus the nickname for like obvious reasons. Whenever that literally pops up in the book, and it literally pops up all the time, I just skip over it. I try not to acknowledge it because if I do, it will probably ruin the book for me. That is how traumatizing that nickname makes me feel. With that being said, I think I'm gonna end the video here just because I don't think I'm gonna be finishing this book today. I am not really in the mood to read right now. If I'm gonna be honest, I am exhausted, and every time I'm like reading and sitting down, I get distracted because all I can think about is all the stuff that I have to do, unfortunately. So I think I'm gonna end the video here, but if you want to hear my final thoughts about Caught Up, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my videos, especially my February wrap up, because I will definitely be reviewing Caught Up in that video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you want more reading challenges like this, if you really enjoyed having the polls on YouTube rather than like my book stuff. And yeah, I will see you next time. Goodbye.